I've just found my new best friend, Jeff Lane, who I'm hoping is going to adopt me because I've just discovered the most amazing collection of cars in Nashville. The Lane Motor Museum was founded by Jeff Lane 20 years ago?
20 years ago, yes.
And how did it come about? I mean, you've got how many cars?
550.
That's quite a collection to build up. How did you build up a collection of 550 cars?
You know, it's like every car collector, you find one, you find two, and then all of a sudden it snowballs into 550.
Okay, yeah. So really, 25 years ago, you had no cars?
25 years ago, I had a TF, a TC, and probably the Izetta.
Okay, yeah. So that's an incredible rate of buying and accruing cars.
Yep.
So, and then you needed to buy somewhere to house them, so you found an old bakery in Nashville and you repurposed that as a museum?
Yes.
When you bought the old bakery, how many cars did you have then?
We had, when we opened 20 years ago, we had, I think, 105 cars.
Okay, so you'd already started to accrue cars by then.
Yeah.
And what's the rationale behind the collection? Because there seems to be a lot of unusual stuff, but there's also a lot of more mainstream, largely European. So what is it that takes your fancy?
So kind of our overall riding theme is unique and different cars you typically haven't seen. You know, there's a few subcategories to that. One of them is the area we're standing here now, prototype cars, so one-offs. We have over 40 prototype cars. We also have over 75 microcars, so that's kind of another big part of the collection. About 80% of the collection is European, but we have a lot of propeller-powered cars. That's another kind of niche, oddball niche. We have 20 propeller-powered vehicles in the collection, and we have 20 Tatras. So that's kind of our overall
Is
take.
that the biggest collection of Tatras that you know of?
It would be, except for the Tatra Museum, of course,
yes, but privately owned collection. Mm-hmm. Okay. So with the prototypes, and we're standing amongst the most amazing selection of one-offs, how do you find them?
You know, it's a mixture of we find them and sometimes they find us, right? So that's a good thing about being a museum, and people know we're into unique and different cars. So sometimes people will call and say, hey, I have this car, or I saw this car somewhere, and we didn't even know about it, right? So it's a mixture. Now, some of them we knew about and some we pursued. So it's kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
And you buy stuff from all over the world? Or is it largely from the US?
I would say at least half the collections come from Europe. We've had cars come from Japan, England. We had one car come from India. I don't think we got anything from China yet, but mostly Europe and the US.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got 550 cars. That's probably more than any one man needs. But there will be gaps. What's the gap that you're trying to fill, or more than one maybe? What's the holy grail for Jeff Lane?
Yeah, there's always a gap, right? People say you're going to run out of cars to find this. I mean, we're looking for a Ligier JS2 because we have a great French collection. We have a couple other Ligiers. I've got a brochure about a vehicle that was built in Argentina that kind of looks like a Chevy Bel Air with a propeller on the back. It's like a proper looking brochure.
Okay. Right.
So, is that real, or did somebody make a brochure and never make the car? There's a really, really obscure car that we've looked for years. It was made in France in the 20s. I can't remember the name of it, but the purpose was when they were doing the trench warfare, this Frenchman designed a car that would drive along and you push a button and it would jump up and go forward about 20 feet to hop over the trench.
Okay, that sounds rather complicated mechanically.
Yeah, now we don't know if that's real or if they actually made a car like that, and it's...
And if they made only one, possibly.
Right. So that's just a smattering.
Okay, so you've got 550 cars, and in the collection open to the public at any one time, you've got 150 on display?
About 125, depends a little bit on the size of the car.
And then you've got some kind of reserve collections, and you bring stuff in and you take stuff out from time to time?
Right, we rotate about 50 to 60 cars per year.
And you've got a restoration workshop here, so you do your own machining, your own fabricating?
Yes, we have 3 full-time restoration people. Yep.
Only 3? It sounds like you need a lot more than that.
We just hired one more, so we'll have 4 come June.
Yeah. Okay. So what about favourites? With 550 cars, that's a lot of cars to pick a favourite from. Do you have a favourite, or maybe 2 or 3, and why?
Yeah, it's really tough, but my first car, my MGTF that I built as a kid, restored when I started when I was 12, finished when I was 16, took my driver's training test in. It's still here. So that obviously emotionally, right, that's got to be my favorite.
Yes.
In terms of driving, I really like the old Fiat 500s, you know, from the 50s and 60s. And I really like the Lotus Salon from the 70s. You know, great driving car, light, nimble, not super fast, but fun to drive. So those would be, you know, if I had to pick three.
That's interesting, because those are probably the three most mainstream cars in the collection.
Yeah.
You've got some incredibly weird stuff, but you've honed in on the more attainable stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoy driving the car. So, I mean, I like driving the Dymaxion, but, you know, it's a terrible driving car. Or the Amphicar's fun to go out in, but, you know, it's not a great driving car.
And that's a good point. So the cars are generally on the button, they're ready to drive, and how much use do they get?
So we tried about 400 of the 550 cars are in running condition. We try to drive every car once to twice a year. I mean, some cars get driven more, like our Tatra T87, things like that we give rides in, get probably driven every month, right?
Right.
But our goal is to drive them at least once a year.
Okay, well, that's incredible. Well, you'll see separately from this on the channel that we've got a few videos of specific cars in the collection. Unfortunately, with 550 cars, I don't have 3 years to go around filming all of them, and Jeff doesn't have that much time to devote, sadly. But pretty much every car that's in the collection is worthy of its own video within the Below the Radar channel. But we're gonna pick on 5 cars, 4 of Jeff's favourites, 1 of mine, and you'll be able to see those separately. So explore those videos when you get the time.